Well, hello you wonderful people, I'm Amy or AWayfaringFrog and welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today we are back with another speed build and we're taking a little break from fairies because, well, I actually built this quite a while ago now, but due to the new expansion coming out, I didn't really get around to posting it until now. So we are doing another video from our career inspired series, and we're going to build a sweet shop since it was one of the kind of new gameplay items that came in the businesses and hobbies expansion pack, the ability to make candy and lollipops, I think it was, using that new candy machine that came in that pack. So I thought it would be fun to make a build inspired by that particular item. Whenever I think of a sweet shop, I always think of like really pastel-y colors for some reason. So I ended up going very pastel pink, and we are building in Nordhaven. It's just in the town area, the more traditional side. So I'm going for this very traditional looking townhouse, as you can see, and I wanted to make the exterior very pink as well to reflect what I mentioned about how I envision sweet shops for some reason. So I went for this slightly darker pink and then this paler one for the actual townhouse portion. And the houses are a little bit odd in the sense that I don't have like a separate section. One of the townhouses isn't just all for the sweet shop. They're kind of interwoven within one another. So the paler side is for the residential house, and then that will creep up into the second and third floors of the darker pink house. So the sweet shop isn't that big, it's just the ground or first floor of that darker pink section, and then the bathrooms are just in a little bit of the second floor. But we are just getting the layout sorted. It's fairly simple due to, well, I find these townhouses are quite easy to map out because they're just kind of long skinny sections, maybe with a bump out or two. And then I wanted to have a nice outdoor space, which is what I'm just sorting now. So I ended up using one of the fences from Businesses and Hobbies just to section that off. And I know I wanted to use fairy lights, so I made sure it was the correct size to be able to fit in this toddler stuff pack fairy light. And I think it looks so cute. I really do love those fairy lights, and they've been coming in a lot of other packs just through debug, which is pretty good in case you don't have the toddler stuff pack. You can still access those through debug if you wanted to. Also, the number of windows on the paler pink building do end up changing. I reduce it down quite a bit later on, and it's partly because when I went to furnish that section, I realized that I have no idea how to decorate when every single wall in this building is just covered in windows. So towards the back side of it, I end up reducing them. I mean, I don't even think I've put windows there at the moment, but anyway, it will change throughout as I'm decorating. But I'm just picking an exterior floor tile for now, and I end up going for this one from base game again. I just think it's got the perfect colours to match most of the surrounding areas within the worlds that the Sims team create. I do kind of wish that they just give us the floor tile that's in the surrounding world though. I'm not really certain why they don't, because it would be so helpful to be able to blend in different builds a lot more easily, especially with community lots, and even just lots like this where it's completely surrounded by all of this like paving or concrete. I don't understand why we don't just have the same floor tile to be able to help blend our builds in a bit more. But anyway, it's fine. I used the base game one since the colors were at least similar, even if the style of floor tile wasn't quite the same. And I am now just mapping out a little bit of landscaping since it does feel like a very sort of city centre lot. I didn't want to have a huge amount of greenery because it just didn't feel too realistic. So all of the landscaping is very structured in that sense. I just put a lot of hedges surrounding these little fences, almost to give a bit more privacy, I suppose. And then I really wanted to make sure to include trees because I just think that builds look really sad without nice trees in there. So I went ahead and grabbed a few from the Businesses and Hobbies debug. Also, I can't remember if I mentioned, this is actually built before fairies even came out. I built it ages ago now. I barely remember it myself, to be honest. So we'll both kind of be watching this back together, since I can't remember what I did. But anyhow, I grabbed this really nice tree with the fairy lights on, which is from Businesses and Hobbies as well. There is a version in debug, and then there's just a version in the normal catalogue, and I surrounded these planter areas just using the base game fence piece, which your Sims can actually walk over. And due to the fact that you can't put the fences all the way up to the edge of the lot, to account for that, I always use the cottage living roof piece and just size it down a bit. I think it's just meant to be some kind of a beam that goes along the top of a roof, but it's so good to be able to kind of finish off that fence. So that's what I did there to help make the fence look continuous rather than just stopping all of a sudden. And now I'm just going around and adding a little bit of decor and some activities in and around the actual outdoor space, where I'll put some seating for your Sims to enjoy their candy, including this little swing set, because a candy store just feels like it would be very kid friendly. So I added that in as something else for your child Sims to do, as well as the little marbles item that comes from For Rent. I really like the marble, well, I like any of the collections in The Sims 4, to be honest. I think it's fun being able to collect stuff throughout gameplay. So I wanted to make sure to include that, since the marbles are items that you can collect through playing with them as a child. I don't really know why they didn't make it possible for you to play marbles as an adult or a teen or anything. You have to be a child to be able to do it, which I think is kind of sad. But I don't know, I guess they didn't want to deal with the animations for any bigger Sims than a child. But anyhow, we have pretty much finished the landscaping outside, so I just thought I'd pop inside and start sorting out the floor plan. And I do remember from when I first built this that it was kind of difficult to do the floor plan. There was, I knew I wanted to use these really nice bathroom stalls from Businesses and Hobbies, but because of the size of them, they were a little bit difficult to fit in upstairs, and there wasn't really enough just empty wall space downstairs to be able to use them, since I used that the cozy, no, yeah, it is the Cozy Bistro kit. Pretty much every kit has the name cozy in it. But anyway, I used the Cozy Bistro kit windows just surrounding the bottom floor, and I think it looks really nice and effective, but it does kind of limit you with decorations on the wall or anything really tall that would go up against the windows. So yeah, I was a little bit limited there, and as a result, I was so keen to make sure that I included the toilets upstairs, which I do end up doing exactly where they are right now. It just took me so long to figure it out. But we got there in the end. And then the floor plan is a little bit weird, because the living space is, like, the living room is downstairs where the front door is, but then you have to go upstairs for the kitchen and dining room. There's also a spare room up there, and then upstairs again is the bathroom, and there's also an ensuite and then the master bedroom up there. So if you're just chilling away in the living room and then you just need the toilet, you're gonna have to go all the way up to the top floor to be able to do that. So from a gameplay perspective, possibly not the best build, due to the fact that your Sims will have a lot of routing to do just to fulfill their basic needs. But it looked nice and I had fun decorating it, so hopefully you don't think it's too much of a problem if you did want to download this build. If you did want to grab it as well, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery just under my EA ID, AWayfaringFrog. It's also under the hashtag AWayfaringFrog, and the information for that is all in the description down below. But now we're getting on to the fun part, which is decorating the actual sweet shop. So as you can see, I've picked out a lot of the Cozy Bistro kit stuff here. I find that it just works perfectly with this vibe. So I end up decorating the back shelves with loads of jars of sweets, which you can get quite a few of those from the what's it called, paranormal stuff pack. It's an odd item that I think you're supposed to be able to collect from ghosts. So I do go ahead and add all of those, and it makes it very colourful, which I really liked. And then the front piece, so there's a couple of the island living counters, and there is currently a coffee machine on there, but I switch it out for the sweet machine. I was just, I think, in the Cozy Bistro kit catalog, and I just added that there because it came from that catalog, but it doesn't really make a huge amount of sense when I need to also fit in the sweet section, or the sweet creation, what is it? The sweet machine, the candy machine, that thing. So I do remove the coffee machine. And then the other item, like the display case, that was actually an early purchase reward for businesses and hobbies, I believe. Again, not really a fan of them doing that, but it's the much nicer version. There is one of those just in that expansion pack, but that one's just a lot prettier and it felt more sweet shoppy vibes. So I went ahead and added that in. And I pretty much sorted out the layout of everything on the interior for the ground floor at the stage. So I thought I'd pop back outside and finish off decorating this space. Although, having said that, I feel like I keep jumping back inside. So it was just basically a, how much seating do I want while I was sorting this out? I do end up mixing in a lot of this light wood tone, as you can see from the base game table that I used at the sofa area. I don't think that sofa is actually usable though. It's a very odd item because it will only accept tables of that size to snap to it, so you can't put a single tile table, but then your Sims complain saying that they can't quite reach it. So I don't fully understand why it's so awkward. So I guess there's that to bear in mind if you did want to play in this build, but there is plenty of seating elsewhere, so it shouldn't be a problem in that regard. And of course I used a lot of the Cozy Bistro kit outside. This cute little chair I think is really lovely. I love the design. It's so simple, but it's very effective and it comes in pink, so obviously we had to use it. And then jumping back inside, so you can see that there's suddenly some sweets that have spawned onto that unit that I mentioned. And that was just because I don't think you can access those from the debug catalog. You have to get your sim to actually make it. So I did that off camera and then just dragged them all into that unit. So those are the items that your sims can actually purchase in this particular build, and then they will hopefully just go around and sit to eat their candy. And then these other sweet items that I'm just adding in, those are the candy containers that I mentioned, which come from paranormal stuff. So there's a lot of fun colors and I made sure to include all of those just for decoration mostly. If you wanted to sell those, you would have to put them in one of the specific items from businesses and hobbies to allow you to sell stuff, because you can't just, it's not like Get to Work where you can just select it for sale. You actually have to use specific surfaces to be able to sell those, which is a little bit odd and it is kind of restrictive, but I can also see why they did it, I guess, insofar as it's not meant to be a retail store, it is a small business. So it's not like the focus is on retail. If you wanted that, I suppose Get to Work would be your answer. But anyhow, the whole point is to sell the candy that you can make, and you can't make those ones that are on the back shelves. But I do really like how colourful that space is looking. I also made sure to add in some of the pottery pieces, so that little tea set, I felt like that would be a nice item to serve tea on alongside the candy that you're selling at this particular building. So that was a little bit of fun. And then these cupcake decorations from Tiny Living were perfect for this kind of a space. So I added those in going up the stairs towards the bathrooms. And the bathrooms are fairly simple. I don't even remember if I show the rest of decorating those on camera because there wasn't a lot to them. But we are just cluttering up this main living space and adding a bit more to the back section behind where I envisioned the till would be, which is again where we've got this little display case of all of the sweets. And I used a lot of the comfy gamer kit because it's got some really nice pieces of clutter. So I left an open book on one of the tables as if a customer had come in and was reading while they had their candy. And then I also included this cute little teapot from For Rent, which is shaped like an elephant. I really like it. I just think it's so cute. And of course the mugs from the Everyday Clutter kit came in handy just to dot those around as if some Sims had bought a drink, like a hot chocolate maybe, while they were here. So I did enjoy just how kind of lived in it looked and like the space was being used, because if you just leave all of the tables blank, I guess like it's probably better from a game performance point of view, since there aren't so many items that your game has to keep loading, but it doesn't look as interesting to me. So I always try and make sure to include lots of cute little clutter to make it look like there are customers around. in the space. Otherwise, it'll start getting Sims 3 vibes where every lot is just completely empty, like a zombie apocalypse. So that's why I just added in a bit of clutter around there. And then under the stairs, there was kind of this weird little gap, so I went ahead and added some more decorations here using a couple of the tables. The shortest one is from base game, and then the taller one is from businesses and hobbies. And I added this cute little plushie in because maybe it was like a mascot for the sweet shop is what I was going for. There's also like an LED light just above the artwork that's above the stairs. And that one's actually from Lovestruck. So I don't know, it just looked like it might be a cute little mascot for the shop. But just adding in a bit of greenery to help break up all of the pink. And I did add these little cushions in as well against the sofa just to add a bit more interest to it because it just felt a little bit bland otherwise. They're just from the Modern Luxe kit. There is also one in base game, but it doesn't have any nice pastel colours really, so I wanted to make sure to include pastel pink rather than the intense magenta pink that the base game insists on using everywhere. So I did go for the Modern Luxe cushions instead of the base game one. And just jumping outside again, I've added some little planter pots here from I think they're from high school years. They're really odd. They look very commercial. Like I don't think they would suit a residential house really, which is probably why I almost never use them. But they have this really nice pastel swatch with the white container. So I thought that was a really nice little touch. I made sure to add those in. And also just starting to sort out the back garden a little bit. I just added in a bin, so I'll come back to that a little bit later. It's been so long since I built this, I actually have no idea what order I did anything in. But it looks like I lied. We are not doing the back garden just yet. We're jumping upstairs into where the toilet section is for the customers. So I guess I did show this on camera, but to be fair, it is very simple, so it didn't take very long. That's probably why I decided to not cut it out of the actual speed build. And I made sure to use one of the pink and white railings. I think they came in the anniversary update at the beginning of 2025 for just the fact that the Sims was it 25? No, it wasn't 25 years old. Or maybe it was. And the Sims 4 was like, I've forgotten how old it is now. It came out in 2014, right? Well, anyway, it was the anniversary event at the beginning of 2025, and they added a load of new swatches for base game stuff, including, I'm pretty sure, that fence piece, which is where that came from. So that was a nice little addition. But as you can see, the toilet section is very simple. There's not a lot of space up here, so I just have the sinks outside of where the cubicles are. And then I added a little bin from the pastel pop kit. And now we're going outside into the garden to decorate there. And it's very simple. There wasn't a huge amount of space, and to be honest, I wasn't really sure what else to put in here, so I just did the kind of usual, include a grill, add some nice seating, as well as some landscaping. I had this really lovely tree, just a little birch tree outside in the garden, so I wanted to make sure to include a border of plants around that section. And then these little plastic chairs from For Rent looked really perfect, and they combined with the Riviera Retreat table really nicely. I find the pattern on the Riviera Retreat stuff is a little bit too samey. It just looks too matchy-matchy. So I've been trying to combine the table with different chairs each time I use that lately, just because of how matchy-matchy it feels. So I think these ones work really nicely. I mean, I feel like plastic chairs are A, so realistic, and B, so simple that they can go with most tables without any issues. And I am just adding in a few more planter boxes as well as this wall of flowers in order to kind of cover up the fact that there are no windows on this side of the sweet shop area. So I just wanted to make something a bit more interesting about that particular wall. And I felt like these trellises from high school years would work nicely, and I just dotted in some of the parenthood flowers that run up the side of the wall as well. A, to bring in a bit more colour, and B, just to make it look a little bit more interesting, because it's very monotonous even with the trellises otherwise. And it was about here that I decided to change the colour of the plants outside. I'd originally gone for purple, but again, to keep in theme with the pink everywhere, I switched that around to the more kind of reddy pink swatch. And now just adding some of that landscaping into the back garden here. I used a few different plants from what I've used around everywhere else, mostly because there aren't really flowers so much in the rest of the build. I just used that debug base game bush around the edges of the fence, but then I wanted to include some of these really pretty hydrangea bushes. I think they're so nice, and I actually bought a hydrangea myself recently and planted it, and it looks really happy and is doing well. I kind of hope it grows and gets really big and bushy though. At the moment it's so short and tiny next to a much taller bush, so we'll see how that goes. But anyhow, we are now jumping into the kitchen, and I used these cabinets from the kitchen stuff pack. I've forgotten what it's called now. The Home Chef Hustle one. And I thought it would be fun to combine that with Dream Home Decorator, and then the fridge is from the kitchen clutter kit. So if you hadn't noticed by this point, this is not a limited pack build by any means. I just had fun with the whatever was already in the game. So if you did want to download it, I am sorry if you don't own all of the packs, because it probably includes pretty much every single one, I'm not gonna lie. So I am sorry about that. If you do ever want me to have a go at building something that's limited pack or just base game only, do let me know in the comments down below. I'd be happy to take any suggestions. Also very aware that there are still some suggestions from the community that I haven't got around to doing. Looking at you, Vlad's Mansion Reno. I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling renovating Vlad's Mansion. I tried a while back, didn't post anything because I didn't finish it, and it was just so stressful. It's such a weird build and it just takes so much time to figure it out, and it was just very overwhelming. So it's still on my list. I will renovate Vlad's Mansion, hopefully at some point this year. But maybe it will end up being more towards October. Plus the year is going by so quickly. What happened? I feel like we're halfway through summer already. It's kind of freaky. So it will be October before you know it, and hopefully we'll be renovating Vlad's Mansion. So for the people who requested that, I promise I still think about it. I haven't forgotten. I just don't feel like doing it right now. It's very overwhelming. But anyhow, we are now getting the colour scheme on the interior sorted. I ended up going for a very blue and pink colour scheme, as you can see. Very inspired by these lovely Home Chef Hustle tiles. And I think it works out really well. I end up loving the living room, to be honest. So I used the Cozy Kitsch Kit chairs and table set and just used them in this kind of navy swatch, as well as including the little stereo or record player from the Party Essentials kit, the not so essential party kit. And then I did this trick again of including the sleek bathroom kit little stone top piece and just created a bit of a shelf behind the record player, just as an excuse to add a bit more clutter. And I just think it helps make it look a little bit more purposeful rather than just there being a gap and we'll just shove a record player here. So I just wanted to make it look a little bit more structured in that sense. I just added a few little candles and some baskets on there. I really like how we've got so many candles in the game now. I feel as if there could still be more, so Sims team, don't stop making cute candles. But this bathroom clutter kit one and the one from the Comfy Gamer kit I use so much. I did also use the Comfy Gamer kit ones outside because they have some nice little sweet swatches. Like there's a donut in one, there's some kind of like sprinkles in another, and they felt really perfect for this kind of a build. So I made sure to litter those outside on the tables. And then if you did come to a sweet shop on an evening, which seems a little bit odd, but if you did, there's some nice mood lighting for your outdoor tables. But now just jumping back into the actual kitchen section here, you may have noticed that I rearranged the counters a bit to make it a corner kitchen instead, and then there was a little kind of cubby area which I ended up putting the get together wardrobe piece in, just to signify some extra storage, I suppose. But I love the kitchen clutter kit, as you probably know if you watch any of my videos, so I made sure to include quite a bit of that there. And that coffee machine does make a reappearance. I can't remember if I swapped that one out for the sweet item as well. That comes from Businesses and Hobbies. It's possible, I've forgotten. But if I don't, then you have a coffee machine as well. I might have just left it alone because I probably figured that you could just go downstairs and make your sweets. You don't actually need any of the other kitchen appliances, I don't believe, to be able to make those. You just need that item. So it's not like you need access to the rest of the kitchen, I don't think. So you might have coffee as well as sweets if you did want to download this build, but I can't promise. But now jumping downstairs into the living space, and this video, if you hadn't already pegged, is quite a long one. So if you haven't already, definitely go grab yourself a stack before you continue, because it's about 40 minutes long. It's quite a big build whilst also not being that big. I think there was just a lot to decorate somehow. So it did go on for quite a while. I do end up cutting out a couple of like hallways and maybe one of the bathrooms on the top floor later on. But I wanted to make sure to include the decoration for all of these other rooms since they're all very different from one another. But as you can see, I am using the I want to say the sleek living room kit, but I don't think that's what it's called. I think it's refined living. I used the sofas from that kit and then combined them using the cushions from Modern Luxe, as well as a few items from Cozy Kitsch again, like this really lovely lamp. I think it's perfect. And also the little sideboard bookshelf items I've just popped near the front door. I also wanted to make sure to add in just a bigger bookshelf in the space, since it felt like a great space just in your living room to be able to access your books. So I go ahead and add that in from the Book Nook kit. I think I've put it on a particular wall for now, but I might move it. I can't remember. Otherwise, I put a mirror just opposite it, since I always like having a mirror by a front door because it feels very realistic. So even though your Sims don't need it, I like to include it in my builds, but there isn't a massive amount of space next to the actual front door, so I ended up popping it near the back door. There is also an entryway into the business from there as well, if you wanted to use that again to help with your Sims routing. Also, because the bathrooms are so far away, I just realized that if you don't have your business open, your Sims might just opt to go into the business and go use the toilets from there instead of using the one for the actual house. So that's interesting. I hadn't really considered that until just now. But hey, I mean, as long as they use one of the bathrooms, it's fine, right? But there's that mirror I was talking about. It's just from the Modern Luxe kit. And then I also added in some of these frames from Growing Together where you can add your own photos that you take in game. I think that was a bit of fun. I kind of like those as well in the same way that I really like the collections from The Sims 4, just so that you can decorate your space a bit more with stuff that you've done throughout your gameplay. I just think that's quite a fun feature. And then this bookshelf does stay put since the mirror is now opposite it, and I'm just cluttering it up with a few items to make it look lived in again. And I just really love the color scheme in here, especially with the splash of like paler blue with the cat condo. And then just to help section off the space and fill up this gap behind the sofa, I added in this plant from Businesses and Hobbies as well, and I thought it looked really pretty, and then just including some plants elsewhere too. Also, for that cat condo, I'm actually not sure if the cats can even reach it because I put so much stuff in front of it, but they can sleep on the sofa and things, so I don't think it's too much of a problem. But if that did bother you, you might just have to get rid of that poof that's sitting out in front of it. But now into the spare room. I made it kind of a guest room and also office section here, so I included a lot of tiny living so that we could have the Murphy bed. And then the desk, I used a lot of the comfy gamer kit things here, as you can see. It's the perfect kit for an office or gaming space, so I really like using it. And I also paired in a lot of Cozy Kitsch. This rug just really helped tie in the color scheme so well, I thought. And it's just so fun and pretty. I really like that rug. So I added just a few basic necessities here and tried to make it look a bit like a storage space. So the suitcases are just meant to, I guess, either signify that you've got guests over, otherwise that's probably where the Sims who actually live here store their suitcases when they're not in use. I've also got some items like those boxes which come from the Restoration Workshop kit, which I think are quite useful, again, from a gameplay perspective, because each one has a different inventory. So if you wanted to store like your marble collection in one of them you could do, and then in the other one, if you wanted to store, I don't know, your like Simi capsule collection from Snowy Escape, then you could do that. So I just wanted to include a few of those. And again, it felt very realistic to have so much storage space in your spare room. Our spare room, oh my gosh, it's a big old mess. It's organized chaos. It's a lot of stuff that doesn't fit anywhere else in the house has just gone into there. So I think spare rooms are generally just storage space. But now I am just cluttering up. I made sure to grab this little shelf item, which came in a recent update for Pride. So I grabbed the trans swatch here, mostly because the shelf matched the color of wood that I had everywhere else, but also the color scheme, perfect. This is basically just like an entire house dedicated to trans candy fanatics, which I love. And then just bringing in some more plants and things to help make the space look a little bit more interesting. I feel like plants really help break up spaces in like a good way. I don't know, they just really bring it together, I feel. So I added a few of those, including my favorite one from the Sleek bathroom kit, which is this one that drapes down over the side of surfaces. It's just so pretty. And then I added a few more pieces here and there. The bed does function, by the way. It does just mean though that your Sims can't get around the bed when it's out, because I've got this little table here. But it just looked a bit empty without having that side table, so I was really determined to include it. But anyhow, we are now finished with that particular spare room and we're just heading upstairs. And as I mentioned, this is where we have the bathroom that's accessible to the rest of the house, as well as the ensuite, which is a lot bigger. And then the master bedroom, of course, is attached to that ensuite. And I think I cut out decorating the main bathroom, the smaller one, as well as the corridor in here, because they were just quite, I mean, there wasn't a lot to them, and we're decorating the ensuite now as we speak, so it felt like even though it's a different layout, I used pretty much the same items, so I didn't see the point in making you watch the same bathroom build twice, and this video is already way too long, so I did cut that out. But as you can see, I'm using all of the Sleek bathroom items because they are fantastic and I love them so much. So they work in so many builds and I just really like them. So again, I'm sorry if you are sick of me using the Sleek bathroom kit, do let me know in the comments down below. But until anyone complains, I am going to keep using them. But as you can see, I'm just making a bit of an open shower space, and then I used the screens from that bathroom kit in order to separate it from the bath and the rest of the space. I was also trying to include some kind of surface near the bathtub because I felt like it would be useful to put like, your shampoo and body wash and stuff there, but I couldn't figure out a way to make it look good on that particular section because it was so tight where the door was, and then you need your Sims to be able to walk around the side of the screen. So I end up leaving it alone. I mean, you can just collect whatever you need from the other shelves in the room and take them to the bathtub if you do have a bath, right? So it's fine. It's still kind of realistic. I also really like using these little wooden sculpture pieces from the Refined Living kit. It might seem a bit weird, but they look like bottles. So it seems like extra clutter to signify like having shampoo and conditioner or something in your shower. So that's why I use those a lot in these bathrooms as well, if you were wondering. I don't just normally put random wooden sculptures into my shower. I promise. That would be a little bit weird, but it's The Sims, so we can pretend there's something else. But now, as I mentioned, I've just skipped over the hallway and that other bathroom and we're jumping into the master bedroom. And I ended up going with this Modern Luxe bed, I think. I'm pretty sure I don't switch it back out. I might switch out the side tables though, I can't quite remember. Because I remember when I was decorating this, I felt like there wasn't enough pink in comparison to the rest of the house. So we'll see. Also ignore the horrendous UI of the tool mod there. I think that was, I either didn't update it or there had been a base game update or something and it was broken, but it still functioned, it just looked dodgy. But I just used the tool mod to resize the rug a little bit a bit more specifically than you can in just using the normal square bracket keys. And if you are ever interested in any of the mods that I use, like I've got a really fantastic curtain no snapping tool, so it stops my curtains from snapping to the windows. I've got the link to all of the mods in the description down below if you wanted to check that out. I definitely recommend the no snapping tool for curtains. It just makes placing them so much easier. But in this bedroom, I was a little bit unsure on what to use for wardrobes. As you can see, I included both of the ones from Businesses and Hobbies, and now I removed them entirely, and I'm going for some Dream Home Decorator mixed with this other unit, which comes from the Growing Together expansion pack. And it was just partly to add a bit more colour. It felt very samey otherwise, but I didn't want to use all of the Dream Home Decorator stuff, so that's kind of why I liked the addition of the Growing Together item. It's got the same wood swatch, but it's also got some nice other textures just to help bring a bit more interest into the space. So I thought that was a bit of fun, and it's probably one of my favourite wardrobes in the game. It's just quite small, and whenever I decorate, I really like to make it realistic, so I feel like there always needs to be more clothes storage space. Because I don't know about you, but over the years you just start to accumulate a lot of clothes and you need space to put them, so I just like to try and include plenty of storage. I also added a TV into the space, so your Sims can get their fun need up quite easily, just watching TV from bed, and then just a few more decorations here and there. And it looks like I might have kept those high school years side tables because I still haven't switched them out, but we are now getting to decorating them, so we'll see if they stay, but I think they're staying. This room is definitely more blue than pink, but since I've got blue throughout the rest of the space, I think it's still very cohesive in that sense. And it gave me the opportunity to use this really lovely rug, which is from the Maximalist kit. I always forget what it's called. Decor to the Max, I think. I love a lot of the items from that. They're very wacky, so I usually just use one piece in a build rather than all of them all at once, because I'd say maximalist decor isn't really my style. But anyhow, we are now coming to the end of the speed build portion of the video, so if you have enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and enable notifications so you'll know when I next upload a video. But for now, I'll leave you all to your day. I hope you enjoy the rest of it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye for now.